next guest, actually our former producer, David Walker, is the co-founder of the England podcast.
A man who likes football as much as you do, and that is saying something.
Yeah, that's right. When you guys would go back to your room or go and sit in the bar, David and I in Russia would find Sam watch Krakatoa versus New Caledonia.
Me and Cadogan were going mad.
Why do you like football so much? That's what we're here for. Anyway, Dave, good to see you.
Good to see you guys.
So tell us about the England pod. I mean, it's I say good timing, really. A new manager, a World Cup next year. Sounds like you've timed it well.
Yeah, so we launched it. We had a trial run last summer. So I do it with George Ellick and Ali Maxwell, who have a podcast called Not the Top 20, which is an EFL, long-running EFL podcast. And we all like England. We've all been to tournaments professionally and as fans. So last summer we thought, why don't we just give this a go and cover England? Because there's not that, apart from people who cover it like talkSPORT and the major broadcasters who do it in a certain way, there's not much kind of fan-led England content out there. There's bits and pieces, but we thought we could try and do this a little bit differently. So sort of half fan, half kind of broadcasting kind of experience, bringing that to the table. And we did it last summer, had a good reaction, and now we've relaunched it on its own channels, on its own feeds. So if you get out there and follow the England pod, wherever you get your pods, and all across all the social platforms, you'll find us.
Is it on YouTube as well?
Yeah, it's all there.
Loads of stuff. Okay,
yeah.
Fair enough.
That's good. And you were saying to us just now that you've sort of been made quite welcome by the sort of England hierarchy
there.
Yeah, we've been at some of the media days and the press conferences so far. I was at Spurs training ground the other day speaking to Tuchel and to Harry Kane. And it's been good actually so far. I mean, it's, look, press conferences are press conferences, right? They don't always reveal
but
that much.
But quite good so far because he's quite honest.
I like the cut of his jib. Yeah. He's got an aura about him. He's definitely got a different presence to him than Southgate had, for better or worse.
Yeah.
And it was quite interesting just to sort of look into the whites of his eyes as he was answering my questions. Like he's got something about him that makes you kind of sit up and take notice. And I think the players, you kind of can see that and you can feel that already. Southgate, obviously, he had his critics, but you can't deny the body of work for the whole of his tenure. But he had to work his way into it. Whereas Tuchel turns up and he's like, this guy's top level, he's got a great track record, and I think that the players will sit up and respect that in a different way.
Yeah, you get the sense he doesn't share Southgate's kind of touchy-feely, emotionally sensible approach, which was what was needed at the time when he came in. He did a brilliant job bringing the team together, but you get the sense from Tuchel that he thinks they're a bit soft.
It's always the way, though, isn't it? Every manager comes in, you get that manager, and then you've had good guy, then you have guy who can a bit of edge to him, then we'll go back to good guy next time.
Then there's no tomato sauce he'll be coming in.
Yeah, that's it. Then we'll know whether the tomato ketchup is on or off the table. Yeah. I mean, I wonder where Tuchel stands on that. No one's asked him about tomato ketchup yet.
Maybe we need to.
No, I think he'd be pro ketchup.
You think he'd give him extra ketchup?
No, not extra.
Layers on the ketchup. But no, we were just saying to Troy Deeney earlier on. He seemed quite surprised because in the post-match chat, we didn't call out Rashford and Foden, but he said they didn't have great games, which we all saw.
Yeah.
But normally managers can be a bit mealy-mouthed, and he said, well, I'm surprised you're surprised that I said this stuff. I've said it to them, I'll say it to you. There's not going to be any secret.
Yeah, I think he's got high standards, and he's obviously, there's loads of clips of him sort of in his early days at Mainz of like really going for the players in training and the attention to detail and stuff, which I think you're seeing a little bit of that come out in his words after the game. It was a routine 2-0 win over Albania. You didn't need to be a world-changing, revolutionary performance, but it's good that he's actually saying, no, we need to be better, we can be better. And I think if we are going to see changes tonight, wouldn't be surprised if it was the two wingers who were dropped, as it were.
Because you don't want this safety-first approach, and they should have the confidence to take. You see it so much in modern football. The winger doesn't take his man and just knocks it back. Keep possession.
That seemed to annoy him. I mean, Danny was saying just the amount of passes England had the other day was like sort of record-breaking. Yeah. You're just playing in front of teams, which is when they're setting up in a low. That's exactly what they want. If you're just playing in front of them. I mean, there's not enough players who can find that pass. So, I mean, the sort of pass that Jude Bellingham did and the run from Lewis Skelly.
I mean, that is a feature of international football, though, for England and for a lot of the big nations in the qualifying. You're going to come up against teams that are going to set up in this low block and they're going to invite you onto them. So you kind of had to deal with that a little bit. But you've got to... and that's one of the challenges Tuchel's got. He hasn't got long to prepare for this World Cup. He keeps talking about only having 24 training days before the World Cup.
That's not a lot, is it?
Which isn't a lot.
It's quite sobering thought, isn't it?
You need a balance, don't you, as well? In that team, you had Rashford. Rashford's the runner there. He's the one that needs to stretch it and get in behind, and Bellingham and Kane can drop deep and find him. And Foden, that's not really Foden's game. He's not someone that runs in behind. And, watching Foden the other night, it was quite similar to watching him in the Euros, I thought. He has failed to hit the heights for England that he has done for Manchester City. And I don't know, that might be a Manchester City thing. Grealish obviously has had his troubles with England, not in the picture at the moment, but I think when you go from Pep in that system to going to England, it's so different, more different than many of the other players, I think, in that situation.
But Madueke did well when it's a shame he's not fit, because he's much more direct. He will take his man on, which is what you want, really.
Yeah. So, it's just whether you can play two wingers like that. But he was talking in his most recent press conference about maybe playing 4-4-2. He was talking about playing a 4-1-4-1 in some games. He's obviously a very tactically minded coach. At Chelsea, Andy, he was playing a back three most of the time, wasn't he? So he hasn't done that for England, and maybe we don't quite have the wing backs to do that. But I think we will see a bit of experimentation across this qualifying group.
Anthony Barry, his assistant, is the kind of king of the set piece. He's no one who's got thousands of set pieces up his sleeve.
Ever since they did that article about him in the Sunday Times about what a brilliant set, I don't think it'd score from a set play anybody.
We had the love train back the other night, though, didn't we? Because that header from Byrne came from those again.
Yeah, that was close. I had a tenner on him to score, actually.
Oh, okay.
Byrne, so I was up thinking that was going to go in.
More effective than I thought he'd be.
Yeah, a couple of times they were running at him second half, but
that's his vulnerability.
Yeah, I thought Konza played really well, actually, as well.
He did,
next to him. But I asked Harry Kane about Anthony Barry last week, actually, and he was glowing in, effusive in his praise for Barry, because he's worked with him at Bayern Munich. He was with Tuchel at Bayern Munich, and even Dan Byrne worked with Anthony Barry at Wigan, actually, coming up. So a lot of the players have got experience and knowledge of him. But I think in the same way that Steve Holland was a big part of the Southgate approach and the Southgate era, I think Barry will be very key to whatever success Tuchel has. But it's so difficult, though, isn't it? We're already talking about all the questions, and even Tuchel himself is very open about, we've got to try and win this World Cup. We've got to go to USA next year and win the World Cup. It's a really hard thing to do.
Very hard.
And it can just turn on such small margins, can't it? Little things can happen in games. We've seen it with red cards, injuries in the build-up.
It's
you need a fair bit of luck, don't you? Along with everything else, with the quality of your team.
You do, but I think what we need as well is that we didn't quite have under Southgate. Is you do need a confidence and a belief that when you get to that semi-final or final, that actually we can win it. So in all of those finals and that semi-final and even the quarter-final against France, we had hope. We didn't really have expectation, did we? We never really were quite there, and that's what the FA have appointed him for, is to be that man?
In game as well. Southgate wasn't brilliant.
No, exactly.
Well, we hope for the best, and you'll be there, of course, with the England podcast. So wherever you get your podcasts, and on YouTube, on all the socials, people can look out for it.
It's all there. Get involved. We're going to be doing the Lionesses as well, the under-21s, and loads more besides. So get involved. 100
days to the Women's Euros. We're going to be chatting about that a little bit later on, and looking back on the weekend. There was some big talking points as always. Talk a bit of F1 in the next hour. What did we learn from the Chinese Grand Prix? James Allen joins us. But for now, David, good to see you. Thanks
good to see you, guys.
Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs, Monday to Friday afternoons 1 till 4 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.